Okay, so the chemistry, the knowledge that we need to obtain, or the chemistry that we need to know, would start from the elements. Basically, in many, there are almost 92 or 96 natural elements, out of which some of them are called as bioelements. Bioelements. Okay, now remember that if something, if there is a word and you see the word bio before another word, it certainly means that it is related to
Life.
life. It is related to life. And most of the time, it means that it is originated from life. But uh, in case of bioelements, you can say that these elements can be found on Earth elsewhere. You can find these elements elsewhere, but most of the time, these elements would be found in the living objects. Now, a few of those bioelements, I am about to write a few of those bioelements which are related to life: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphate, sulfur. These elements are basically there. You can say that these are majorly used. These elements are majorly used in the living organisms or in the living subjects. Okay, so and you know very well that elements basically, you can say that elements are also atoms. Elements also represent atoms, and we know very well that when atoms combine, what is made when atoms combine?
Molecules.
Molecules are made. Molecules of different sizes. Some molecules are smaller and some molecules are larger. The smaller molecules, just like the water or maybe the glucose, etc., and the larger molecules like many fats and proteins, etc. Now, obviously, when the molecules are here, molecule is not a small word. It's a very, 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 you can say, large word. It's a very large word, and you can, your whole chemistry, the subject of chemistry, standing upon this word, molecule, because we have trillions of molecules on this earth. But generally, we divide the molecules into two categories. One is called as inorganic molecules, and the other one is called as organic molecules. Can you tell me the difference between these two types of molecules?
Inorganic and organic molecules. I don't know the exact difference between them.
Hmm. Any guess?
Um, oh yeah, yeah, wait, I remember. I think organic compounds like always have the carbon atom, and then the inorganic
Hmm.
ones don't have a carbon atom.
Yes, basically, the inorganic molecule, organic molecules have a very general concept that they would have a backbone of CH bonds, CH bonds. And you can say that this might, one thing is clear, one thing is very clear, that if not backbone, then at least these molecules would have CH bonds in them. Like backbone is not necessary, CH bond in them. Backbone is not necessary. What does it mean? It means that the backbone means that something is standing upon other thing. So in some of the molecules, CH bonds really are backbones, but in some of them, CH bonds are not even not backbone, they are present at the side molecules, but yes, they would be included in the organic chemistry, organic molecules. Inorganic molecules, inorganic molecules are those which are not having CH bonds, not having CH bonds. Okay, in both of these categories, um, we have another classification called as biological molecules. Biological molecules. Biological molecules, they are typically the molecules which can, like you can simply say that these molecules can are originated. These molecules are originated in the living subject, living object, originated in living objects. Now, what does it mean? You would not find these molecules other than living objects. If you are even making these molecules in the lab, then the origin is the origin is the living molecule. Origin is the living molecule. So there is the thing behind it, that the origin of a molecule, if it is living object, then it would be considered as the biological molecule. Other than biological molecule, you would not find these molecules anywhere. Suppose biological molecules are of four types. One type is called as the carbohydrates. Carbohydrates. Second type is called as the fats. Third is called as proteins, and fourth one is called as the DNA. Now, all these four molecules have some properties we need to discuss. First, what is their elemental configuration or elemental composition? Second, what is the origin? No, what are the sources of these molecules? What are the functions of these molecules? And what is the chemistry? How they are made? All these all these 4 points have to be discussed in our lesson today. So first of all, let's talk about the carbohydrates. Carbohydrates. Now, the carbohydrates is a very unique group of molecules. Why? The carbohydrates basically, in other words, you can call them hydrated carbons. Hydrated carbons. What does it mean? Now, let me write down the definition, then we'll be understanding it. A group of molecules, a group of molecules made of C, H, and O elements, made of C, H, and O elements, and a group of molecules made of C, H, and O elements having H and O, H and O, um, as equal as in water molecule, as in water molecule. You can simply
So,
say as equal ratio, as equal ratio as in water molecule. Now, what does it mean? When you would compare, when you would make the water, what would be the composition of water H2O? It means two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. Similarly, when you would try to count the hydrogen and oxygens of the carbohydrates, you would find that ultimate ratio is 2:1, meaning that hydrogen would always be double. Hydrogen would always be double in number. Double in number. Like it may be, suppose that you find a carbohydrate having H100 C50. The thing is same. The concept of ratio is same, that hydrogens are double and oxygen are half compared to hydrogens. So basically the theme is not 2:1. The theme is that hydrogen is double than oxygen. That is the theme. So let me clear this out with the help of an example. Let's say this is glucose, comparing it with the water. Now we cannot compare carbon here. Why? Because the molecule that we are comparing it with does not possess carbon. So carbon is out of the question. But comparing a hydrogen, 12 hydrogens, oxygen, 6 oxygens, 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen. Ultimately, when you would simplify them, it would become 2:1 and 2:1. So this is the meaning of it, that the carbohydrates is a special group of molecules that is possessing equal number of hydrogen and oxygen as present in water.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yeah.
That is why we call it we call them the carbohydrates. Okay. Next. Next is like what basically are carbohydrates, or um, the carbohydrates are really important parts, are really important molecules. Why? Remember that these carbohydrates are really important because they are the basic source of our energy. Basic source of energy in our body. How do we obtain energy? Hmm?
Um, Obtain energy. So, like with food, nutrition.
And what was the ultimate process in which energy would be released?
I can say which
We
one you
discussed
can
this yesterday
use.
as well.
We can use to use the energy is respiration.
Yes, basically, respiration is a very huge phenomenon. Wherever the energy is in question, the respiration is involved.
Yeah.
Wherever the energy is in question, the respiration is involved. Like we discussed the respiration in the active transport. The energy is required. So the source of energy was respiration. Basically, what happens that we take the carbohydrates, we pass them through the process of respiration, and we extract the energy out. And why they are the basic source of energy? They are very easy to break. They are very easy to break. We can break them very easily and we can just get the energy out of them. Okay, the carbohydrate is a very vast group of molecules. We classify the carbohydrates on particular basis. Suppose that um, the first class of carbohydrates, first of all, remember the basics of classification. The basics of carbohydrate classification is that when the carbohydrates were discovered, they were called as sugars. Their first name was sugars. And the sugar in Latin language is called as saccharon. It is called as saccharon. So sugars are saccharon. So that is why initially we thought, which is wrong by the way, a wrong decision was made that carbohydrates are sweet. But this is not completely wrong. Carbohydrates are not all sweet, but some of them are. The reality is that some of them are. But since when they were discovered, they were named as saccharons, so we classified them on the basis of units of sugars. Units of sugars. So the first group of classification was named as monosaccharides. Monosaccharide. Monosaccharide means mono means single and saccharon mean what
Many.
is the meaning of saccharon? No, I just told you a few seconds ago.
Mono means single, saccharide,
And saccharide,
sugars.
sugars.
So single sugars.
So they single sugars. Basically, this group is composed of those sugars that are single, i.e., not combined to any other sugar, to any other sugar. These are basically these are basically the sugars that hold on. These are basically the sugars which are not combined to any other. Suppose that you have a lot of bricks. If you
Okay.
combine them with cement, you would not say that it's a single brick until you combine them with the cement, with the help of the cement. If they are not cemented, um, if they are not cemented, they would be counted as single bricks. They would be counted as single bricks. Similarly, the saccharides or the sugars which are not combined to any other sugar, these are called as monosaccharides or single sugars. And what are monosaccharides? Basically, you can say that this group composes of units of sugars. This would be composed of units of sugar. What is the meaning of a unit? What is a unit?
Like a whole group of things of them together.
One meaning of a unit is whole group. The other meaning of unit is you can say a single or simplest form. Simplest form. Suppose we say that cell is the unit of life. So what does it mean?
So cell is part of what makes life.
No, cell is the simplest form of life. That is the meaning of a unit.
Or like a
A
standard
unit,
unit.
yes, not a standard unit, but you would say that just like a brick. A brick is a unit of life, meaning that you cannot build a wall without bricks. Similarly, cell is a unit of life. You cannot build a life without a cell. Similarly, monosaccharides are units of carbohydrates. You cannot build the carbohydrates without the monosaccharides. These are simple sugars. There is another identification of these. You cannot break them. You cannot break them into any more sugars. Any more sugars. Suppose that you break a wall. You break a wall, and you have when you break a wall, you get the units of four bricks. Now those four bricks, can these four bricks which are combined with the cement, can you break them into further groups? Like if you break the group of four bricks from the middle, how many bricks would you have?
You'd only have three left, right?
No, no, no. Like four bricks combined with the cement. You
Yeah.
break them from the middle.
So they
Two
all
on
fall.
one side,
So the
maybe all
ones
fall.
on top,
Mhm.
the one on top falls, that's for sure.
Maybe. But now let's simplify the thing. Always remember that if you can break a wall into further bricks, it means that and if you are able to draw an analogy, it means that if you are going to break the carbohydrate and it breaks and creates many sugars, it would be considered as a large sugar, which when you broke it down, it broke into many small sugars. But when you are breaking the smallest sugars, you cannot break it into any more sugars because it was the simplest sugar. And those simplest sugars are present in the monosaccharide group. Is it clear?
Yeah.
So large sugars can be broken down into small and simple sugars, but this group in which the small and simple sugars are present, you cannot break them further into any more sugars. So the types of, or you can say examples. Examples of these sugars are first is glucose, and there is always remember that basic chemistry is CHO, glucose, then fructose, then there is another called as ribose, and then there is another called as galactose. These are four types of monosaccharides, mean the simplest sugars. Okay, so next is uh, all of these sugars have one thing in common. They have one thing in common, two to three things in common. They are made of CH backbone, CH backbone. They are always in the ring form. In the ring form. What is the meaning of a ring? Focus here. All the corners of a ring are representing carbon atom. All the corners. This corner, this corner, this corner, this corner, and this corner, and this corner as well. All the corners of the rings are known as carbon atom. Let's suppose there is another type of ring, this kind of. You have to identify what is the difference between these two rings. What is the difference between the two rings? One and two.
So one is like flatter and wider, and two is longer and less wide.
Try counting the corners.
So two has five and one has six.
Yes, it means that the ring can change its corners, but they always are in the form of rings in the body. These are very beautiful rings that you would find in your body. These are moving here and there. And the another thing about the monosaccharide, not all carbohydrates, remember, another thing about the monosaccharides is that they all are sweet in taste. They all are sweet in taste. Okay, so now very important thing is what are the uses of them? Okay, no, one more thing. How are they made? Basically, they would be made. They would be made by like carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, in which their category is their category is defined by the number of carbons. What is the meaning of category? You may read a word somewhere in the book. You may read a word hexose, hexose, hexose. This O's represent a sugar or maybe a carbohydrate. O's. Okay, you can see the word O's in every sugar written over here. O's means sugar or carbohydrate. Hexa. What is the meaning of hexa?
6.
Yes. So the sugars which are six carbon, the sugars made of six carbon, they are supposed to be called as hexose. So you can say their category is defined by the number of carbons. Category is defined by the number of carbons. So six carbons are there. In okay, let's take an example. C6H12O6. Now, would you name it hexose?
If it's 6, sorry, I didn't get this part that you said before. The hex 6 what?
Hexose would be the name for all those sugars which are having six carbons.
Yeah, yeah.
So would the glucose be hexose?
It has 6 carbons, right? So
Mhm.
I believe yes.
Yes, hexose. Glucose is in the category. See, let me tell you. If you write hexose, you can write many sugars below it, many formulas below it. First formula belongs to glucose. And you must know that fructose has this same formula, C6H12O6. The glucose and fructose, they are basically the isomers of each other. What's an isomer?
Isomer. Isn't it when two or more chemical compounds like have the same numbers of atoms?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And
Isn't that isotopes as well?
no. The isotopes are having different atomic masses,
Oh
same
yeah,
atomic
yeah.
number, but different atomic masses. This is the atom. This is the molecules. So isomers are those which are having the same number of atoms but different arrangement. So the glucose and fructose, they are isomers, meaning that they have same number of atoms but different structural formula. So but you would call them hexoses. Then there is another sugar which has almost the same number of carbons, galactose. So it's also hexose. Every sugar that has six carbons in it, it would be called as a hexose. So a hexose would always be drawn like this. This is a hexose. Exceptions can be there, but this is a hexose. You know how? First carbon, second carbon, third carbon, fourth carbon, fifth carbon, and the sixth carbon is over here. So there are six carbons in it, so hexose. And a sugar with like C5H10O5. This sugar would be called as a pentose. A pentose is the one penta. Penta means five. So it's a five carbon sugar. Its ring would be like this. So this is what it is like. Got it?
Yeah.
Their categories can be defined by the number of carbons which are making them. Okay, next. Um, all right. Then there is next group called as disaccharide. Disaccharide. What is a disaccharide? Remember that. mm,
Di is a double sugar, right? Because di is two.
yes. Now what happens that you combining when you are combining two monosaccharides, one plus one, right?
Yeah.
The monosaccharides are um, mono plus mono equals to di. So monosaccharide plus monosaccharide equals to disaccharide. So if you are saying, suppose that you combine this sugar, a six-cornered sugar, with a five-cornered sugar, and you combine them in a reaction, they would be looking like this.
Would it be 10? So dex, dex.
No, 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 no. You are no more going to consider the number of carbons. Now
Okay.
you would consider the number of sugars. Remember what I told you in the very beginning, that the classification basically based upon the units of sugars. How many units of sugars would be how many or what kind of units of sugars. So remember, in
Okay, so
monosaccharide
this is
only
di.
single units were there.
So this
Yes.
is di because it's two monos.
Yeah, two monos. So its name, we do not count the number of carbons in them. You know what we say? We would give them their own name. So suppose that it's a glucose and it's a fructose. When you combine them, the water is released, and the combination reaction is called as condensation. It is called as condensation because we are releasing the water. Once the water is released and two sugars are combined, it would be called as the sucrose. Now you would not give them any number. You would give them their own names. So mono plus mono disaccharide is a group, but you are not going to give them the names according to the number of carbons or the number of sugars. Got it?
Yeah.
That is what we need to know. And they would be combining in a reaction of condensation. You would find the sucrose in many fruits, especially in sugarcane, and the sucrose is also called as table sugar. It's also called as table sugar. Next, next is next type of sugar that would be made. That is between two glucoses. If you combine two glucoses, you would end up getting another sugar called as this sugar is called as maltose. You don't need to remember the formula. Just remember that it is made of two glucoses. It is made of two glucoses. So that is the maltose. Then there is another sugar called as glucose, made of glucose and galactose, and this makes lactose. Lactose would be found in milk. So that is what the disaccharides are. We can eat them, and disaccharides are mostly what they are also sweet. When we eat the table sugar, we know that they are sweet. Okay, next is uh just hold on. Okay, so next group. Now, if you combine multiple groups of multiple sugars, your group would be called as a polysaccharide. Sorry, my internet was a bit problematic. Is my voice clear?
Yeah.
Okay, I just lost the signal just for 1 second. Okay, polysaccharides, this means that you have multiple sugars combined. Multiple sugars combined, and these multiple sugars are going to, the very first feature of polysaccharide is that they are not at all sweet. Not at all sweet. But very important feature is when you say that they are polysaccharides, basically the polysaccharides are of two functions. They are important for two kinds of functions. One function is the that you can they can act as a storage of sugar, storage of sugar in inside the living objects. They can act as the storage of sugar, the polysaccharides. These are basically, you can say, these are their roles in our bodies. And the second role of polysaccharide is structural. You can build different structures with the help of them. So, structural features and storage role. These are basically the purposes of polysaccharides. You getting it?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's see what are the types of those polysaccharides which can be stored in our body. Okay, if it is animals, no, sorry. What did I say? I said that these sugars would act as a storage of polysaccharides are going to act as the storage houses. So if there is excess sugar in animals, if there is excessive sugar in animals or fungi, then they would be stored in the form of glycogen. This is the name of the polysaccharide. This is first polysaccharide. If you are eating the carbohydrates and they are being stored in the body, you are overeating it. You are overeating them. Then they would be stored in the form of glycogen. And if you talk about animals, then in animals they are stored in the liver and muscles. Liver and muscles. So first form, you know that what is the meaning of the word glycogen? The glyc. The glyc literally means carbohydrate, and gen mean producing. Producing. Basically, when the glycogen breaks, it breaks into glucose. And glucose is what? Glucose is a carbohydrate.
Yeah.
So when the glycogen would break, it would break in a glucose. It would be even itself, the glycogen is a carbohydrate, no doubt. The glycogen itself is a carbohydrate, but when it breaks, it's just like a wall. I gave you an example of this a few minutes ago. I said that the glucose, whenever you are breaking the carbohydrates, the larger carbohydrates, you will get more carbohydrates, but smaller. Just like that, if the glycogen is a carbohydrate and you would break it, it would give you simpler but more carbohydrates. So glycogen is found in animals and fungi. But if there is excessive sugars in plants, did you understand the point still here?
Yeah.
If there is excessive sugars in plants, it would be stored in the form of starch. Like you would say that the starch is stored inside leaves and roots, even stems, even stems. I can give you small examples. You would find the starch where you would also find the starch in seeds, just like wheat. You would find the starch in leaves, just like all the leaves. And you would find the starch in stem. What is stem? The ginger. The ginger is a type of stem. And corm. You know what is corm?
Like, can you spell it?
CORM.
No, I don't know what that is.
Have you ever eaten the arvi?
Are we like the what is it called? That starchy root vegetable, right?
Yes, 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 yes. That
Yeah,
is.
yeah, I've had that.
That is corm. That is basically a stem. Anyways, whatever it is, the starch can be stored anywhere. It can be stored. Oh, I am forgetting. What am I saying here? It can be stored in the tubers, and the one of the major example of tuber is what? Potato.
Major potato, yeah.
Potato is no tuber is only potato. Yes, you would find the carbohydrates in like in the turnip. Okay, one thing is clear. Every vegetable that you would find from underground, every vegetable obtained from underground, that would be filled with starch. A very easy thing to say here. Onion, similarly, um, potato, you would find the corn, the ginger, the garlic, even the garlic. So all of these are filled with the starch, and starch is basically the starch basically represents the excessiveness of glucose in the plants, and similarly, the glycogen represent the excessiveness of glucose in the animals and fungi. So that is the concept of the those sugars which are working as a storage. But what about the structural carbohydrates? The structural carbohydrate is cellulose for this class, but there is another type of carbohydrate that acts as and another lignin. Lignin is also the carbohydrate. You would find the cellulose in the cell walls, obviously. Lignin in the cell wall, chitin in the cell wall. Another is pectin. So all these are carbohydrates, and you would say that these can be used for the structural role. All these act can play the role of a structure. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how do you guess we get the carbohydrates? Obviously, I don't think that we can make our own carbohydrates. Can we?
No, we get them from food.
We get them from food. Okay. So in what forms we can get the carbohydrates?
Like bread,
Mhm.
rice,
Yes.
potatoes.
Bread, rice, potatoes, etc. So good. Now, can you name, other than bread, can you name any fast food that might obtain carbohydrate?
Um, like sugary, like biscuits.
Okay,
Um,
that would be a bakery item, not a fast food.
I'm not sure. Drinks like soda drinks.
Yes, drinks do contain it. Another very important thing that does contain it, every bread. So where can you find the bread?
Like what do you
You
mean?
bread. Where can you find the bread in fast foods?
Like in burgers.
Well done. Pizza. the shawarma.
Yeah.
If you notice the cakes contain the sponge, and that sponge is all over starch, meaning you cannot get rid of carbohydrates until you work very hard. You know why the keto diet plan is extremely difficult? The reason of keto diet plan is extremely difficult because they ask you to completely avoid the carbohydrates. Now, food, every second thing in your food is carbohydrate. You cannot especially those which are from Asian origin, those foods which are from Asian origin, there is no way you can get rid of it. Let me give you an example. Have you ever eaten a samosa?
Yeah.
It's a lots and lots of carbohydrate. The Then there are many other deep fried things. Deep frying is especially dangerous, especially dangerous. And other than that, it contains a lot of starch. So that is why the diet plans are very difficult, especially for the people who are very fond of Asian foods. Because there are no foods compared to Asian foods in all over the world which are so much tasty, rich in flavor, but still contain a lot of starch, carbohydrates.
Yeah.
One more thing for your knowledge. Why do we gain weight? Do we eat a lot of fats?
Gain weight because of calorie surplus.
Calorie surplus. Well done, very mature answer. Basically, we gain weight because of the surplus. And what is calorie? Calorie is energy.
Yes. Kcal.
So, what do you think? What role the carbohydrates have in gaining the weight?
They would have high calories, and if you have higher calories than what's recommended for you and you don't exercise, then you gain weight. So carbs are
Good
high in
answer.
calories.
Remember, every person who gains weight, 95% of times, you gain weight because of the carbohydrates, not because of the fats. But the people who have gained weight, they gain weight because of the carbohydrates, but they have more fats. This does not make sense, does it?
No.
Remember when the people you can say eat the carbohydrates, surplus carbohydrates, their bodies try to store them in the form of the glycogen.
Yeah.
But whenever the glycogen storage runs out, you don't have any more area, any more uh, cell to store it. The muscles store them, but they also run out. Not run
Yeah.
out basically. It is overrun. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, it's overrun. So now what would you do to store? Because you never let the glucose go waste. So you convert the glycogen into fats inside your body.
To store
And
it.
boom, now, yes, to store it. And now you are gaining weight.
Yeah. So how does this apply to protein? Because I've started like lifting weights, and to gain muscle, you have to eat lots of protein. So how does that apply to this in terms of
Uh,
glycogen?
What's your age?
15.
15. Um, and you are going to a proper gym, which who the instructor knows about the diet science, right?
Yeah.
That's very important. That's very important because in Pakistan over here we have the gyms in every other street, and the people don't even know about the body and diet science, and they are just destroying the boys. Anyways, The most important thing about the protein is that protein gives us amino acids.
Yeah, that
Okay,
rebuild the cells.
I can give you the next account I can give you on proteins. See, the protein is something we'll be discussing about the fats in the next lesson. Proteins are something that uh, is the building material for our body.
Yeah,
Building material, meaning that you cannot even think about uh, the design and built up of our body without the presence of proteins. They are the ultimate record. Even that the DNA, the DNA that we get from our parents, they have a task to make proteins. Like you can say the DNA is just a code that has been provided to us by our parents, but the code basically gives us the guidance how to make the proteins. That is how much the proteins are important. And proteins can be defined in another way. You can define them as polymers or large molecules of amino acids. Amino acids. Polymers of amino acids. Okay, one thing I forgot to tell you. The basic unit. I'll get back to the proteins. The basic unit of glycogen, starch, and cellulose. These three that I'm highlighting. These three have the same basic unit, and that is the glucose. Like you can simply say that these are the polymers of glucose. What can you say about a polymer? A polymer is a larger molecule made up of repeating units. A polymer is a large molecule made up of repeating units. Repeating units. So uh, the cellulose is a polymer. Why? It's a very large molecule made up of repeating units of glucose. Then glycogen is another large molecule made up of repeating units of glucose, so it would again be a polymer. Similar thing for starch. So remember that the carbohydrates, the proteins are polymers of amino acids. They are polymers of amino acids, and these proteins are basically the building material. Let me give you an idea about some basic roles of proteins in our body. Roles of proteins. The best thing about the roles of protein is that they can uh, what
so
happened.
connected.
Okay, so where was I? What was I telling you?
Roles of proteins and the DNA that make the protein that proteins make DNA.
Hmm. And did you listen anything about the polymers?
Yeah, it started and then it disconnected.
Okay, I said that the polymers are large molecules made of repeating units.
Yeah,
So the glycogen, starch, and cellulose, all these are the polymers of glucose, meaning their repeating units are glucose. Similarly, the proteins are polymers of amino acids. Proteins are polymers of amino acids, and what are the roles of proteins in our body? The very first role is building, is structural role. Okay, if you want to find out how much important structures it makes, you can just simply read about the
collagen.
collagen protein
Yeah, is
and the
this
muscles.
is collagen in the what do you call it? um मेरी अम्मी एक सूप बनाती हैं वो जो गोट्स फीट के साथ जो बनता है उसमें कोलेजन होता है ना.
Whatever, whenever you make, no, that is, yes, that does contain collagen. but that also create that also is composed of a very important protein. I guess that is, anyways, whatever it is. Yes, collagen is present in that. The curry of feet.
Yeah.
The dish is called as pie.
Yeah.
So basically, yes, the collagen would be, you would every time you would find the collagen in the different, especially related to the bones. That is why one must be having a detailed biting of bones whenever you are eating the meat, the beef or mutton. You should be you should be using the bones as the food, along with other pieces of meat, along with the flesh. So the collagen, the muscles, these are the structural roles of proteins. Then comes another role, the functional role. The functional role is related to the different functions. Let's say hemoglobin, and then the, you can say, what was it? Yes, antibodies, some hormones, and then there is another role that is called as the metabolic role. And in the metabolic role, you would find the proteins working as
Enzymes.
enzymes. So ultimate role of the proteins you can find in our bodies. Now we were talking about the muscles. Basically, our bodies, whenever we eat the protein, whenever we eat the meat, whenever we eat the flesh, it turns into amino acids in our digestive systems, and we rebuild them in different proteins. So whenever you are trying to gain weight, especially you are trying to gain muscles, then you have to take the diet of protein. The sources of proteins, what are those? These are very easy. Can you name them?
Hello, I don't think I can hear you. Your voice is gone.
Sorry? Sorry?
Um, I didn't get that last part. My mic stopped working. Just 1 second. Yeah, it's
Okay.
working now. I can hear you.
All right. So, did you miss anything?
I know.
Okay, so amino acids would be rebuilt into the muscles. So whenever you are lifting weight, it's very important, it's very, very beneficial for you to get the proteins in your diet, to include the proteins in your diet so that just simply, you can just simply convert the amino acids into your proteins.
Yeah.
So, what are the sources of proteins, sources of amino acids? How can you get the amino acids?
Um, just from general proteins, right? Like nuts, meat, yogurt, milk.
Yogurt. Yogurt does not have a very good content of the protein, of the amino acids. What else? The
Um,
best protein content. Yes, please try. What did you name? The egg, meat, and
egg, meat, nuts, milk. There's this milk protein called quark
hmm,
and whey. Those are very high in protein, so I'm
whey
assuming they're
protein.
high in
Whey
amino acids.
protein is basically. Hmm, whey protein is basically taken out of the milk.
Yeah. So is the quark, right?
Any. Hmm. But there's another very, very beautiful source, but that basically comes with the fats, and that is cheese.
Yeah.
One more thing, don't forget about it, the vitamins. Although your diet must be good, if you are eating the meat, and take care of the vitamins, because vitamin D and B, These both are of extreme importance whenever
Yeah,
you
I
are.
take all of
Uh,
those tablets. There's fish oil, vitamin D, C, and
hmm,
B.
that's very good. That's very good. Okay, the next molecule that you would find, because it's a small topic, so we can finish it, and our chapter would be finished by tomorrow. The next biological molecule that you would find in the body is called as the DNA. What's the abbreviation of the DNA?
Um, DNA abbreviation. I think I remember this. Deoxybron something. Deoxybron
D
nucleic acid. Is it that?
deoxyribo deoxyribonucleic acid. These are different words. Deoxyribonucleic acids. Basically, they are acidic in nature. They release the hydrogen atoms, and you would find the DNA in nucleus. You would find the DNA in mitochondria. You would find the DNA in chloroplast. In chloroplast. Initially, the DNA was only found in the nucleus. That is why we started calling the DNA as nucleic acid. If you focus on the last two words of the DNA abbreviation, you would find the word nucleic acid. The nucleic acid, it was named for the nucleic acid as it was found in the nucleus, and then it was like it is in acidic nature, but later it was found that it can be seen in the mitochondrial chloroplast as well. So what why the DNA is also a polymer, but it's a polymer of nucleotides. It's a polymer of nucleotides. You can simply define the DNA in this way. uh, a large molecule of two polynucleotides two polynucleotides twisted around each other, twisted around each other. That is called as a DNA. Now, any polymer of nucleotide would be called as a polynucleotide. So, if you are trying to understand about the DNA, you would just understand it like this.
Okay. So what
These
does
are
the
the
word
two.
nucleotide mean?
Yeah, I'm about to mention that if you are going to twist two polynucleotides around each other, that would be called as a polynucleotide. Now, what is a nucleotide? A nucleotide is just like the simple unit of DNA. Simple unit of DNA, and it is made of three things. One is a ribose sugar. A ribose is a pentose, if you remember. Then it consists of phosphoric acid, and it also consists of the uh, nitrogenous base. Nitrogenous base. Okay, by nitrogenous, you know what is the meaning of it? What is the meaning of base?
Like the chemistry definition of base.
Yes,
Um, base. Is it what do you call it? A substance that when you react with an acid to neutralize it, it like produces a
very good.
salt.
Yes. The other word for it is alkali. Okay. So these three would combine to make a nucleotide. Now, how a nucleotide would look like? This is a pentose sugar, the ribose. On one side, you would find a nitrogenous base, and on the other side, above one carbon, you would find the H2PO4, the phosphoric acid. That is a nucleotide, and you would repeat it again and again and again to make a polynucleotide. Got that?
Yep.
About the proteins, remember that the simple elements of the proteins are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. And the elements of DNA are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a nucleic acid. Right. Okay, you are consulting this book in the school, right?
Yeah. I
I'm
have the
not sure.
version above this, the next edition. I think the fourth
Do you
edition.
have the PDF?
I don't have the
You got
PDF. I have the physical copy.
okay, no problem. So the last thing, okay, one important protein that they have mentioned over here is the keratin. The keratin is a protein you would find in many different organisms. Let me give you an idea about it. The keratin is present in those structures of our body which are part of us, but we do not feel anything there, like the nails, the hairs,
Teeth?
the hooves. Nope, the teeth basically are not made of protein. That is why.
Okay.
Hooves, then the horns, the antlers, and many other things, maybe other things. So these are basically the keratin is another very stable protein, very stable protein. All these are organic molecules. Okay, I would like you to have a quick revision of the sheets, if you can. Can you open the sheets?
Yeah, I'll open it.
We have a small part remaining over here, and that is testing for biochemicals. And this would be done within 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll be jumping to the enzymes.
Okay. And are we on track, by the way, like completing the whole thing in time?
Yeah, we are, alhamdulillah, on a very best track because it's just May is about to start. So, sorry,
June.
June. June is about to start. So, and we have almost done the enzyme chapter would take no more than 2 lessons. And other than that, so I have like that particular kind of days, division of days.
Okay.
So we are very going good until now because in the
And
very in the Mhm.
yeah, sorry. What is your estimate on how long I'll have to revise?
You are about to appear in October, right?
Yep.
So we'll be almost finished, inshallah, inshallah, by August, September. In the very beginning of September, July, August, yes. In the very beginning of September, I have the target to finish it. But
Okay.
not very
So
beginning of September, by the end of the August.
okay. So do you think it's sufficient to like start doing past? Should I probably start doing past papers before then, right?
Like
Or
past papers would be the practice of the things would be going along.
okay, like
Like
topicals.
suppose, yeah, we have been doing the worksheets. Now the worksheet that we have been doing yesterday, that is no less than the questions that often appear for that topic.
Okay.
Even some of those things are even tougher. The